Do you know Pakistan has a University of Jihad? The Darul Uloom Haqqani, a sprawling Islamic seminary situated barely 35 miles from Peshawar. At any given time, this seminary is home to at least 4,000 students, mostly Afghan refugees, all fed, clothed and educated for free thanks to funding from Pakistani political parties who consider this seminary integral to the theocratic fabric of Pakistan. But their intentions are anything but holy. The Darul Uloom Haqqani is essentially a terror factory. It openly teaches Muslims about jihad and has routinely churned out dreaded terrorists, including the top brass of the Taliban. Mullah Akhtar Mansoor, the co-founder of the Taliban, was from the Darul Uloom. Mullah Omar, another co-founder, had an honorary doctorate from the Darul Uloom. Jalaluddin Haqqani, the founder of the Haqqani network, and Sirajuddin Haqqani, his son and current leader of the outfit, they're both from this seminary. Plus the Taliban's newly appointed Water and Energy Minister, Mullah Abdul Latif, Telecommunication Minister, Najibullah Haqqani, and the Minister for Refugees, of course they have one, Khalilur Rahman Haqqani. The Darul Uloom Haqqaniya is their alma mater. It teaches Deobandi Islam, a radical and puritanical Islamic movement with the conquest mindset at its core. The seminary gets open state support from Islamabad and sends terrorists to wage the holy war, as they call it, in Afghanistan. The Darul Uloom is just one piece of the Afghan puzzle. For decades, Pakistan has been running a sophisticated network of financial, political, diplomatic and military support to the Taliban. The aim is very clear. Pakistan wants to make Afghanistan its sixth province. Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. The attainment of strategic depth against India is the prime objective of Pakistan's Afghan policy. A policy that could prove to be costly, with consequences that Pakistan is not prepared for. Our story begins in 1971. After a bitter civil war, East Pakistan, a region dominated by Bengali-speaking communities, ousted its Urdu-speaking rulers from West Pakistan. It broke away to become Bangladesh. This loss made Pakistan paranoid about the western territories of Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. We'll talk about Balochistan some other time. Today, let's focus on this region, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, home to large Pashtun communities, divided between Pakistan and Afghanistan by a line, the Durand Line, another historical headache. This is the Pak-Afghan border, and this is the Durand Line, drawn by the British and rejected by the Afghans. Since 1947, successive Afghan governments have rejected the Durand Line. They've promoted the cause of Pashtunistan, one Pashtunistan, the home of Pashtuns. Pakistan, of course, doesn't want this. So it built seminaries, promoted radicalism, in the hope that Islamic nationalism would overshadow Pashtun nationalism. In fact, preventing the creation of a Pashtun state was a constant preoccupation of General Ziaul Haq, the chief of the Pakistan Army who seized power in the 1978 coup. Between 1978 and 1988, General Zia opened close to 1,200 madrasas in Pakistan, 1,200 seminaries in 10 years. Most of them were in Pakistan's northwest. These madrasas were used to suppress Pashtun nationalism. Around the same time, Afghan jihad was gaining momentum. The Mujahideen, with the support of the United States, were waging their holy war against the Soviets. Pakistan backed the Mujahideen, killed two birds with one stone, loyalty from the Mujahideen and money from the Americans. The CIA funneled money and equipment to the ISI. The ISI trained the Afghan Mujahideen. In the 1980s, around 90,000 Afghans, including Mullah Omar, were trained by the ISI. In 1996, the Taliban seized power and Pakistan helped them. Only 3 countries in the world recognize this Taliban regime: Pakistan, Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Pakistan gave the Taliban diplomatic support, funds, infrastructure. According to Ahmad Rashid, the Interior Minister of Benazir Bhutto, Pakistan created the Afghan Trade Development Cell to funnel money and resources for the Taliban. The state-owned Pakistan Telecommunications Corporation set up a telephone network for the Taliban. The Public Works Department repaired roads and provided electricity grids to the Taliban. The Paramilitary Frontier Corps set up a wireless network for Taliban commanders. Pakistan's Civil Aviation Authority repaired the Kandahar airport and Soviet jets. And Radio Pakistan provided technical support to the Taliban's official radio service, Radio Shariat. Pakistan gave the Taliban everything they wanted. This included a safe haven after 9/11, when America's war on terror began. the political leadership of the Taliban camped in Peshawar, Quetta and Rawalpindi. The Taliban has named its shuras or councils on the names of these three cities. The Quetta Shura, in fact, houses the Rehbari Shura, the decision-making body of the Taliban. Now look at this. The federally administered tribal areas like South and North Waziristan, they act as a revolving door for the Afghan Taliban and their partner in crime, the Haqqani network. These territories adjoin the Afghan border. They're designated as tribal agencies. The administration is informal on purpose. It's an excuse to allow cross-border smuggling of drugs, weapons and terrorists. As many as 400 trucks cross the border every day. 400 trucks a day. They go uninspected, often carrying radicalized terror recruits. They enter Afghanistan and they do Pakistan's bidding. How many of them are in the Taliban? According to the US State Department, around 40% of the Taliban's ranks are Pakistanis. 40%. Some of them even fought in Panjshir. This ID proof was reportedly found on one of them. Pakistani recruits in the Taliban have a separate base. It's called Rishi Kaur, located on the outskirts of Kabul. The Afghan bureau of the ISI, you could say. At any given time, there are more than 1,000 recruits here. They are hired as advisors and commanders by the Taliban. They are Pakistan's eyes and ears. According to the Human Rights Watch, with its pawns on the ground, it becomes easier for the Pakistan army to provide direct military support to the Taliban. We saw that in Panjshir, a Pakistani invasion with an Afghan face. Pakistan's SSG troops were spotted on the ground. Pakistan's Cobra helicopters buzzed overhead. Time and again, the Taliban's military skills have surprisingly improved on the eve of pivotal battles. And then they decline equally surprisingly and quickly after threats of intervention by world leaders. What explains this? The support of Pakistan. The army provides the Taliban with cover. The ISI provides them with weapons. A number of former ISI officials run import-export defense firms. They use their old Taliban ties and new business connections to act as middlemen. They buy technologies, weapons and spare parts for the Taliban. I'll give you one more example of Pakistani influence. Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar was jailed by Pakistan in 2010. Why? Apparently, he tried to reach out to Hamid Karzai for a truce. Pakistan did not want this, so Baradar was put behind bars. He stayed there for 8 years. Then in 2018, the US wanted to talk to the Taliban, so the ISI promptly delivered Baradar to the talking table in Doha. Then we have Haibatullah Akhundzada, the supreme leader of the Taliban. He was said to be in Pakistani custody. It's still not clear if he's back in Kandahar. Pakistan pulls a lot of strings. Its role in the Taliban's affairs is not overstated. It's a reality. The smug satisfaction in Islamabad after their victory, the pro-Taliban rallies in Quetta, the unfurling of the Taliban's flags in Islamabad, the presence of the ISI chief in Kabul, the resurgence of Taliban offshoots in Pakistan, and the celebratory statements by Pakistan's ministers, they're all testimony to the fact that the Taliban is a Pakistani proxy, one that could soon be redirected from Afghanistan to Kashmir. Says who? Pakistani ministers.
तालिबान हमें कहते हैं हम आपके साथ हैं और इंशाल्लाह वो आके हमारे साथ कश्मीर फतह करके देंगे।
ये किसने आपको कोई व्हाट्सएप आया होगा कि तालिबान आपके साथ मिलकर के कश्मीर आजाद कराएंगे? वाकई ऐसा कोई ख्वाब देखती हैं आप? किसने दिखाया है?
इंशाल्लाह।
ये कैसे, किसने आपको बताया?
आपको
पता है आपने क्या कहा है?
This minister may be a loose cannon, but she spelled out Pakistan's strategy/desire. Use the Taliban to take Kashmir. It's a dangerous game with serious consequences. Pakistan's Kashmir obsession will be its undoing. This is not a Taliban that depends on Pakistan for survival anymore. This is a Taliban in power, and the Americans call them businesslike and professional. They might become the tail that wags the dog. Old loyalties rarely stand in the way of new temptations. Let me also say this. The Taliban are the most regressive force in Islamic history. They are the expression of a social epidemic which is prone to spreading and shall destroy Muslim societies like Pakistan, if not eliminated. These are costs the people of Pakistan must remind their government about for the sake of whatever little legitimacy Pakistan still enjoys on the international stage.
Gravitas Plus, co-presented by Skoda. Kushaq. Choose what really matters.